So we're almost done with 2022 and somehow you have not found the time to figure out what is happening in Web3 and how you as a builder can benefit as well as contribute. So fine, I will be the one to show you all of the resources that you need so that you can get ahead of the game. I'm talking podcasts, DAOs, courses, as well as YouTube channels.
Oh my God! Wow!
And I was even checking the Twitter community to see what they thought were the best resources to learn Web3. And if you think I missed anything, then comment down below because I'd love to learn what else is out there and what you were using to learn and upskill in Web3. So let's first start with podcasts. I have my laptop here with my notes, guys. That's why I keep looking down. So the first one I'll mention to you is one that's called Web3 Talks. And in this podcast, you actually hear from top builders. The host only speaks with people who are actually building in this space. So it's really good to hear from their point of view what their journey was like.
We only talk with people who have hands-on Web3 building experience. So if you are a hacker, entrepreneur, or investor, you can get inspired by their stories, lessons.
So the second one as well is really great. It's called The Index and it's from the Graph Protocol. And they speak to, pioneers and developers who are behind the Web3 revolution.
And today we have Zhen Yu Yang, CEO and co-founder of Web3 Auth, a distributed private key management solution.
And then finally, the title of this one is very clever. It's called Down the Rabbit Hole, as in like DAO. Yeah, so Down the Rabbit Hole. And this one is hosted by Rabbit Hole, which is a great platform to upskill in Web3. And, they talk about just that. They talk about, how Web3 is forming and how it impacts things like the economics, the psychology and politics. So I think this is a really nice one for you to just get a gist of this space in case you're brand new and you're wondering, okay, where do I start? What's happening? Why are we building for Web3?
Welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Anais Sim, and we have a super special episode for you guys today where we're going to be talking all about meta governance and DAO delegation. And I can't think of
All right, so we're moving through swiftly because we have a lot to cover. And now let's talk about some courses you can find online that are completely free and they all have a different spin. So you definitely want to pay attention for this part. So the first one here is Crypto Zombies. Now, Crypto Zombies is learning to code whilst building a game, sort of. So you're building simple games and, you might look at the user interface and think like, ooh, that looks a bit gimmicky. I don't know, but stick with me. So essentially, they have, all of these courses here and they have different tracks. So first you can go from beginner to intermediate when it comes to building smart contract. That's their Solidity path. And then they have a Chainlink path, which I think is quite cool, and some advanced Solidity. You'd actually see that here you're learning proper code. So they're just explaining to you, okay, in this part of the game, we need to add this functionality. So to get this functionality, we need to learn about addresses in this case. So they will explain to you the stuff. You have a template to work from. And this would have been something you built in the previous module. And then as well, they're like, okay, cool. Now add your code. Tell me what we need to do next. Obviously, based on the instructions they give you. And then they would also give you the answer as well. Build Space is very popular amongst the Web3 developer community. And it's a great place as well to learn how to build. And you learn how to create dApps. They have multiple modules, so they call it projects in this case, but it's the same thing. Like you learn different projects. So if you click Start a Project, you can build your first Web3 app with Solidity. That's for Ethereum. Or you can build your first Web3 app on Solana using React and Rust. They have a really strong community. And when you are building, you can join a cohort. And when you join a cohort, that means you'd have access to a bunch of other people who are building at the same time. So you guys can talk about whatever issues you're running to. If you want something explained well, normally these conversations happen in Discord. I'm sure Crypto Zombies has a Discord as well. Like all of these platforms normally do have Discords. But I like the fact that they have these cohorts because that means when you join a cohort, you feel some sort of camaraderie while you code. And again, this is completely free. And at the end of building, I believe you do get an NFT. And when you get an NFT, there hopefully in the future, there would be some utility. I have not been keeping up with Build Space, so maybe they already do have some utility. But I find Build Space to be very cool. People really like this project. They're very popular. Normally, you hear lots of people speaking about Build Space. Another great course that's Decade and it's also free and it's similar to the ones above in the sense that you do have an aspect of building based on modules. So if you go into communities, for example, they show you how to build on Near, on Celo, even on Ethereum, and you learn how to build an entire app. So for example, if you look at the Celo community one, you can build an entire app from scratch. So you're going to learn about Solidity, you're going to learn about how to interact with Remix, as well as how to create a UI for the application. But the thing that makes this one different is you receive a reward. So you receive a reward at the end when you submit your own work. And the part that I think is even better than this is the fact that when you submit your own work, meaning, okay, let's say you learn how to build a DApp and then you create your own DApp based on the things that you learned in that module and you submit your own work, you're getting a chance to actually put what you learned to practice. There is a higher chance that you will actually absorb the concepts that you have learned because you took the time out to apply the concepts, and you will run into errors and you will be Googling and you will learn. They as well have a Discord channel where you can ask questions. This is an example of an application that I would have built on this with the seller community, and I've submitted it. And when I submitted it, people gave feedback, and that's why they call it a peer-to-peer learning community, because it makes it so that not only do you submit your work and you take time to actually make sure you understand the concepts, there is somebody, or there are people, literally anyone can go in and they can review your work and give you feedback. And the kind of feedback you're getting is top tier. So for example, this guy, Farzine, he gave me some improvements and some recommendations, and he actually created a GitHub pull request so that way I can look at it and decide if I want to implement it into my code. And we actually had a back and forth on the pull request because I was like, oh, why did you do that? And, I think this should happen. And, so that was actually pretty cool, and I really enjoy that aspect because it's good to have someone else who's been building look at the work that you have done and give you some constructive criticism. Someone else told me like, hey, it's a great concept, and I'm like, thanks, Kishore. So yeah, I think that's actually pretty cool. So I really like Decade for that. So these are 3 courses. You learned about 3 podcasts. All right, so now let's look at some DAOs that you can go to if you would like to get some experience in the Web3 space. So with these DAOs, you can do a combination of learning but also connecting with other people in the community, maybe even finding your future co-founders, and also going to talks and getting access to hackathons, getting access to funding, and much more. So I even asked on Twitter what DAOs people are learning from. Well, a few people weighed in, so we will look at those responses as well. So the first DAO that I'm going to highlight is a developer DAO, and your girl is a Hailing member. Hey, so they released an NFT collection sometime last year, and you were able to join the DAO by minting an NFT to be part of that. And the things that you get with the developer DAO is you get to join their Discord community, and you have access to talks. They had a Web3 conference last year. Or was it this year? No, they had a Web3 conference this year. For example, here I have their newsletter where they're talking about everything. So normally there are lots of developer meetups, and there was one that was in Dubai. People are meeting up all over the world. So New York, Dubai, wherever you're at. I'm actually currently in Dubai, so I need to go to one of the developer DAO meetups here. And here they show you a meetup of developer DAO in NYC. They also have news about what's happening in the ecosystem, who's building, what's needed. So here they're saying that they need help. So how I said in a previous video, if you'd like to get work experience, the best way is to work with a DAO. Exhibit 8, like they're actually telling you like, hey, we need help with this, we need help with that. And some of these roles are actually paid as well. Yeah, so to be able to join the developer DAO right now, you would need to purchase an NFT from the open market. So that's the only thing. You can't really get access right now. So the other thing is Learn Web3 DAO. So this one as well, they have a Discord community. You don't need to have an NFT to have access, and they have different tracks. And what I like about this DAO is that the tracks that they have all depend on your level of experience. Some of us might be a bit intimidated because we think we can't do what's required in the courses, but here they have these tracks. So even if you're a senior or a junior dev, you should be able to jump in and start and not feel so intimidated. And they even have a seller track as well. I also came across a DAO called Women Build Web3. So this DAO is focused on women who are building in this space or women-led projects, and they're giving you access to funding opportunities as well as even just education within the space. And they just launched their course called 30 Days of Web3. And they launched that on July 25th. You're getting workshop from top devs. It's available in Spanish and English, which is great. They have office hours, and you can actually benefit from a $130,000 accelerator. They are going to fund projects over 3 months, I believe. And yeah, you have access to funding as well as advice. And the speakers that they have are actually quite dope. They have Patrick Collins. I'm going to call out the ones I know from this list, which is Patrick Collins. If you don't know him from YouTube, you should get to know him because he has great videos. Ali here, that's my girl in Protocol Lab. She's also a developer advocate. And Nina David, who is a really awesome guy here on Twitter. One of my first Twitter friends, first Web3 Twitter friends. So yeah, I think this is actually a really, really good thing to get into. So I highly recommend you look at this, especially if you're a female. Okay, so let me go to my Twitter and let me tell you about some of the people who responded to my tweet. So on Twitter, I posted some Web3 DAOs that I do know when I ask people, like, what other Web3 DAOs are there for builders? So someone said Blue DAO, which Blue DAO, which sponsors women and non-binary folks and allies to build in real life at ETH Global Hackathons. So they provide mentorship and technical resources. Big projects in this space come out of ETH Global Hackathons. So it's great to be able to have that mentorship whilst you're at a hackathon and even get access or get funding to go to the hackathon. And then someone mentioned a DAO called Banyan DAO, and they've spent the last 6 months training product people in Web3 and incubating a few new projects. So I think that's also cool. Last but not least, let's check out some YouTube channels that are great to learn from. And first, I'll start off with none other than Patrick Collins. Patrick Collins, hands down, is one of the best YouTube channels for learning blockchain dev. He walks you through many concepts that are important. He teaches it in a way that is easy to understand. He tends to be, a bit animated, which is nice. And yeah, I really love his page. Eat the Blocks is another great resource. He has great videos. Some might be long, some might be short. He might talk about the concepts, but also give you, longer form videos. And I think he does have courses as well. Who else would I recommend? This is at the top of my head right now. So DAP University is also another popular one. He has some long courses, like literally on YouTube, like long videos taking you from start to finish how to build. Good old Alicia Tech. I have videos here teaching you how to build applications from scratch. I walk you through opportunities to earn and I show you how to do it. So for example, the course earlier with Decade, I have a few videos just showing you how to actually complete the steps in that course. So I would recommend my channel. I got videos about Web3.js, Solidity, and that kind of stuff. So I hope this video was helpful for you, and I hope that you will take at least one of these resources and add it to something that you do each week so that you can stay ahead of the curve with Web3, whether you start listening to a podcast to get inspiration, or you jump into one of those courses from Build Space or Decade, or you even just join a DAO and just start networking and speaking. And finally, subscribe to my channel because I have you with all things Web3, especially if you're a builder. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.